Have you ever thought about booking a hunt with a professional hunter or an outfitter and you're worried about high prices? And should you use a booking agent? What exactly is a booking agent? And are they going to take more of your money? We're going to find that out and a lot more on this episode of Ron Spomer Outdoors Podcast. Hi, everyone. I heard from one of my patrons lately, Cody, and he wonders if I couldn't discuss booking agents. A hunting booking agent is someone who finds outfitters, kind of checks them out to see how good their operation is, and then makes a deal with them to bring customers. So it's essentially he's a salesman. He's sort of an in-betweener, but you don't have to pay him. This is the cool thing about it. Instead of you having to go to all these different potential hunting guides, outfitters that you might hire and check them out for yourself, the booking agent does it for you. He gets rid of the bad ones, shall we say. That doesn't mean it's perfect every time, but in general, in order for this agent to make money, he's got to book a hunt for the outfitter, and the outfitter pays him a percentage for what he brings in. Does not reflect on you. So whether you go directly to the outfitter and he charges you $10,000 for the hunt, or you go through the booking agent and he charges you $10,000 for the hunt, you just simplify things by using that agent. And I think that's what Cody wanted me to talk about. So this is what he wrote. He said, "Hey, Ron, I really enjoy your show and I've listened and watched all of your episodes." That's getting on my right side right there, Cody. No wonder I addressed this topic right off the top. He continues, "However, I do have a quick suggestion for a topic on your show. I'm thinking that you could talk about these hunting brokers and how they work for people. I recently started my own hunting broker business, and I see quite a few benefits with using one, but I don't think most hunters know about them or think a broker is maybe just trying to earn a quick buck off of them. So I'd love for you to discuss it." Well, that's what I'm doing, Cody. And I'm going to give you a plug, Cody. I don't know how well Cody runs his business, but I'm guessing that he's pretty straight up and honest and is doing a good job. But if you'd like to check him out, he is at envisionthehunt.com. And he is a booking agent who can visit with you about all of this stuff and maybe answer some of your questions. Now, another agent that I have used quite a bit, especially back in the 90s, Jack Atchison and Sons in Butte, Montana. Really 5 stars for these guys. They have put me on a lot of great hunts over the years. And they always asked me, at least, and I would assume they do this for everyone, what you like in a hunt. You know, do you like to sleep in late or get out early? Do you like to hunt hard? Or do you like to have a little easier hunt? What are your limitations physically? Are you willing to go the extra distance? Do you like an aggressive guide or someone who's really soft, low key, and polite? You know, just all of these personality things that can make or break a hunt. It's really good to understand that stuff. So I think that's one of the benefits of a hunt broker. Now, another good one for really some discount things is bookyourhunt.com. They've got it set up for lower prices. I forgot exactly how it works. I used them years ago when they were first starting out, and we had a great hunt as a result, but I can't remember exactly how they do it to reduce the prices. I think it's that you just book online. You don't have to actually get on the phone and visit with anyone, and that saves some time and expense. So you might want to check that out too. Lots of them out there, and most of them do a great job. I know I've worked with some other ones and I'm forgetting them right now, or I would list those as well. But do check out brokers. Don't think that you're going to have to pay extra money because you hire one of these guys to set things up for you. And of course, they will also give you good advice on when to go, what the best seasons are, what to bring along, how to prepare for travel, and all the basics. They pretty much know that stuff. So it's a good resource. All right, let's hear from Miguel. "Hi, Mr. Spomer. I know really well that you might not have the time to watch every request from your listeners, but I'm going to try my luck here. Well, I'm reading it here, Miguel. First, let me tell you, I'm listening to you on your podcast as soon as the new episode comes out, and I love listening, and I think you're one of the best at what you do. Well, thanks so much for that, Miguel. If you see, where am I going? I want to pick your brain on subject. If I'm not mistaken, you have studied biology. My father-in-law and I are thinking that hunting would be better if humans changed their ways. This is interesting. Nature is working well on its own with wolves, deer, and other animals. Example, wolves are eating the diseased, the injured, or the genetically inferior deer so that the population of deer stays in great shape. So wolves are good for deer in that way. But we as hunters tend to try to get the healthiest, strongest, genetically, and more beautiful deer to eat. Every way that turns in my mind, I just can't figure out how this could end well. We are working against nature. These are my thoughts, and I'd like to know what you think about it. Keep doing your podcasts. I think a lot of people love it. Thank you. So I wrote back, good morning, Miguel, but allow me to take this subject a bit further. Humans are as much a part of the biotic community as any other predator or omnivore. So what we do really is natural or nature. This can and has led to the extinction of some species at our hands. But when you think about it, nature has wiped out many, many more species without our help. They say that science has identified more fossilized extinct species than there are living species right now. Well, the big difference between humans and all other species is that we have the brain power, the foresight, and the understanding to appreciate the ramifications of our actions. While other predators would kill and relish the last of any species without a second thought, we don't, and we shouldn't. We know and accept our responsibilities towards protecting, better yet, aiding and enhancing the survival of other species. Our largest impact comes from our sheer numbers, 8 billion of us and rising, say to 11 billion by 2050. Well, the changes that we make to habitats as a result is the big deal. How many birds, mammals, reptiles, insects, wildflowers, trees, and etc. live in our concrete jungles? How many can survive in our vast crop fields that we've leveled and sprayed with herbicides and pesticides? And what impact do our mines, our oil wells, our highways, our rivers dammed up, the houses and lawns that we build, what do those do to our wild species? Modern regulated sport hunting carefully considers game numbers and replacement rates, habitat changes, harvest levels, and season dates to take but a small percentage, usually around 10% or less, of any population, while using the hunting dollars for licenses, tags, ammo, and gun taxes and all that to fund habitat improvement and outright purchase wetlands and species reintroductions and animal health and all that. This is what has reestablished most North American and Southern African game to abundance since their low points around 1900. And as for shooting trophy-class animals and ruining the gene pool, it has been proven to not reduce species health because too small of a percentage of the population are actually taken. And those trophy animals that we take are almost always old-age individuals who have already sired many offspring. No studies have shown that regulated trophy hunting has led to a degeneration in species vigor. So long as a wild population has excellent habitat, meaning great forage and escape cover, and limited predatory pressure, it thrives. The proof of all this is the fact that nearly every one of the world record game heads of all North American mammals have been taken since 1970. Trophy quality has actually been increasing, not decreasing. But thanks anyway for your concern and interest in giving me the opportunity to explain some of this stuff. Because, what you're thinking, a lot of people do think that, but it just hasn't worked out that way. And I think we're doing a great job of managing not only populations as best we can, given the limited habitat and declining habitat, but also the genetic quality of these animals. Now, here's a fun one from Carl, who likes the 223 for deer hunting. Whoo, boy, this is going to get some static. Carl writes, I have extensive experience with the 223 using a Sierra 55 grain hollow point boat tail loaded with 24.5 grains of IMR 3031 powder. I chronographed the speed and it was just a tad over 3,000 feet per second. That's slower than factory ammo, but boy, does it ever kill well. Aside from doing well on groundhogs, it has cleaned up on deer. Using a Winchester featherweight Model 70, I fired at 113 deer and recovered 111 of them. Wow. What a batting average, huh? Yeah, that is. I even killed 2 deer with one shot, hitting the first deer in the neck and dropping the next deer with a spray of shrapnel from the fragmenting bullet. But the bullet separated. I recovered the copper jacket in the second deer, but to my surprise, the lead core had exited the second deer behind its shoulder. Both deer went straight down. Amazing. As much as I trust my 223 on everything, the 22-250 is so awesome, having killed about 1,000 groundhogs with it and close to 100 deer. This guy does a lot of deer hunting. He must be in an eastern state with a big bag limit. I've used mostly 55 60 grain bullets in the 22-250, but when my barrel wore out, I got a new one with a 1-9 twist, and that allows me to use 77 to 80 grain bullets. The 77 grain boat tail smokes deer at 200 yards. My father bought that 22-250 in the early 1950s when it was a Wildcat, and my pop had to neck down 250 Savage brass to make his brass. The 223 and the 22-250 are just outstanding deer rounds. I did more neck shots with the 223 for instant kills, but body shots on deer with the 22-250 soon established my 40 rule. Any deer hit behind the shoulder typically went 40 yards. A hunting buddy of mine said the same thing about his 22-250. So feel free to pass along anything I tell you here. The 2-for-1 shot on the deer was so amazing, I made a point of taking the hide of the second deer and laid its flesh side up across a wide stump, and I took a picture. It looked like the deer had been hit with a loaded number 6 shot from, wow. I was really amazed at the damage done to that second deer. That is really amazing, because who would imagine that a frangible light little bullet like that from a 223 would kill a second deer? Most of us think it can't even take the first one, but I hear from so many shooters of the 223 that take deer with it, and I can hardly not believe it. It works as well as you're saying. So it's a little bit out of the ordinary, and it's not legal in all states, but I just keep getting great reports about the effect of these bullets on deer. So not saying that advocating everyone should rush out and get one, but if you're a sensitive shooter, you're sensitive to recoil, or a new shooter, and you want to really concentrate on precision shot placement, which most of us agree is the critical element here, I think that might be worth trying a 223 Ram or a 22-250. All right, let's hear from Derek. Derek, I think, is another one of our patrons, and he says, my thought and experiences with the Whelen, that's the 35 Whelen. You get perfect happy medium with efficient power generated to downrange effect out to 300 yards with this. Sounds like he's a fan of the 35 Whelen. The numbers, the energy numbers and so forth line up with the 300 Winchester Magnum out to 300 yards with my new spear loads and Barnes and other advanced bullets. My game processor says he has never seen the combination of massive holes along with velocity damage. I'm a 280 AI, 30-06 and 300 Win Mag fanboy, but inside of 300 yards, I really like, I think, the 35 Whelen rules. I've only hunted deer, but I get pass-throughs with my shoulder shots, still get Coke can-sized hole pass-throughs and behind shoulder shots. Just love the efficiency of the cartridge, non-finicky. After trying many loads and 4 different rifles, I love the 35 Whelen. Cheers and thanks for all your great contact. Wow. So there is some good information on the 35 Whelen. I'm hearing from a lot of guys who use that cartridge and they just absolutely love it. I still haven't used it on any game, but boy, I think from what I'm hearing, I might have to give it a try. Well, let's see what Don has to say. This is from Facebook, or he contacted me after watching one of my videos, I think. I've been a bit reluctant to contact you, but what I have, I don't think has been covered. First, I'm a hunter, of course, but I also compete in small bore and high bore rifle silhouette shooting. Many years ago, a friend and I decided to try a novel cartridge for the hunting rifle power event, high power event. So happens that in the year that Remington had produced their classic rifle in 300 Savage. Now, we both knew that the Model 700 could withstand far more pressure than that 99-year-old 300 Savage is allowed, so we kind of supercharged the round with our hand loads. We used a 125 grain Sierra Game King for 200 and 300 meter shots, and the 155 grain Palma Match King for 385 and 500 meter shots. The 155s were going about 2,600 feet per second. The only problem was concentricity was hard to maintain because of the short neck on that 300 Savage. Yeah, that's one of the downsides to that case. But we solved this by using a 308 Winchester competition seating die turned down to seat the bullet properly in a 300 case. So they got good straight seating alignment with that 300 Win competition seating die. With no exaggeration, the rifle and cartridge could hold half minute of angle at 500 meters, and it shot one whole groups at 100. Wow. I never lost a ram if I hit it. Now, by ram, he doesn't mean a real sheep. He's talking about these steel cutouts. On this silhouette game, you have to shoot a steel cutout of a ram and a turkey and a chicken and, gosh, I forget the other one. Is it a pig? At any rate, you got to knock those steel targets over. And he seems to be doing pretty well with it. I never lost a ram if I hit it, and I took this rifle to hunt pronghorn in Wyoming, 400-yard shots, very common out there. The point is, in a modern bolt rifle with that old cartridge, you can hold your own against a 308 Winchester. I did the same procedure with a 30-30 and a Remington Model 788, but I'll save that for another time. Well, Don, you're doing some experimenting there that seems to be working out pretty well for you, so thanks for sharing that. The old 300 Savage isn't dead yet. All right, here's MD talking about mounting a scope. Sorry, Ron, for a gun guy, you should read up on how to mount a scope. Uh-oh, looks like somebody doesn't like the way I scope mount here. The turrets should be as far forward in the rings as possible with respect to eye relief. Wonder why he thinks that. This allows the shooter to get behind the gun and have a low head mount and tight cheek weld in order to drive the rifle, so to speak. Drive the rifle? Maybe he by drive, he just means properly handle the rifle or better shoot it. I'm not sure. At any rate, he goes on. You made the same mistake when mounting scopes on those short-barreled mountain rifles you showcased a while back. You should also have lower height rings as well. Well, MD, you're certainly right about the height of the ring and all. What happens here is that I'll get different scopes and rifles in, and I'll grab my rings and just see what fits. And I often don't have the exact precise ring to get that scope close to the barrel. But that's a good point. For most of us, depending on the comb height again on that rifle and your neck size and all the rest of it, you need a little bit different configurations. That's why these configurable stocks have gotten so popular. It's easy to adjust the comb to make up for this kind of stuff. But I've always liked getting my scope down close to the bore. I just don't quite understand about why it's so important to get the turrets as far forward in the rings as possible. What I do like to do when I'm mounting a scope is get the rings forward fairly far, often pretty close to the bell, actually. And then the rear rings a little bit, about halfway between the turret and the adjustable zoom ring for your power. I haven't found it to be super critical. I just don't think it makes sense to have them really close together. Then you've got your scope kind of at both ends, more easily damaged, I would imagine, because it can bend there because you got more leverage. So try to get them a little further out towards the ends. But I don't know that it's critical to get the turrets close to it. And as far as eye relief, it's not because your scope needs to be shoved forward to the turret to get the right eye relief. The eye relief is built into the scope. I think you understand that. So if your scope has an eye relief of 3.5 inches or 4 inches or 4.5, that is set. That means the distance from the glass of the eyepiece to your eyeball is that distance. That means that you are then getting the full view without the edge shadowing. And it's usually wise to set your scope up while it's at full power and pushed forward as far as it can go. No, pulled back as far as it can go. And then you've got your eye relief just right. And then start pushing it forward and stop when you start to see that shadow come in. When you've got a good head position and cheek weld, as MD here says, you want to push that scope forward as much as you can before you get the eye shadow. Then you're gaining just a little bit of fudge factor in that eye relief. It's not just slam right there and no place else. Depending on the scope, you can go a little bit further back, a little bit further forward before you get the shadow. And I like to go a little bit further forward because it sets that scope farther from my eye, because the actual eye relief is one thing, but the scope's outer rim around the eyepiece is usually sticking out a little bit, and that's what's going to hit your brow, your forehead, your eyebrow, and your bone there is also sticking out farther than your eyeball. So the combination results in those bang scope cuts that you sometimes get. So yeah, do take the time to set up your eye relief properly, but I haven't gotten any scope cuts for decades, MD. So, and I've also pretty much gotten my game with the setups that I have. I'm certainly not the best shot in the world, but I appreciate you trying to help me out here. And I will keep those things in mind. John now. Oh, he says I'm measuring the wrong holes on my targets. I think he watched a video on my SD10 Park West Arms rifle, that single shot. Beautiful rifle, he says. Beautiful rifle, but it's shooting all over the place. Well, John, it's not quite shooting all over the place. You were watching a video I did when I was just beginning to shoot it and work up some loads. I think I was forming brass, essentially. I was shooting some Federal and some Remington factory ammunition just to break the rifle in and get some brass to work with. When I started hand loading, I got that thing dialed down to shooting MOA with 160 grain North Fork bullets. And then I used some 131 grain Hammer Hunter bullets, and those got under MOA. I think the best group was right around 3/4 MOA with those. So I appreciate your concern here. And yeah, I sometimes measure the wrong hole. I'll shoot too many groups on the same paper, being the old conservative that I am. I just hate taking down targets that I only have a few holes in, but sometimes the result of that is my bullet holes get me confused as to who went where when. All right, here's somebody called Dual Sports, and he's asking about Springfield. I love what you do, Ron, but you sound like a grumpy old man about your magazines. The ASIS feeds super. Get a plastic third. It won't rattle and be almost flush. How many rounds do you need to hunt with anyway? Well, I get where this one's coming from. I reviewed a Springfield 2020 Waypoint in the new 7 PRC cartridge. And I mentioned that I don't like extended magazines, and it rattled, and I didn't like that. So he says I'm a grumpy old man. Well, I'm sorry, but each of us gets to make our choices on what we like and don't like. And I don't like those inline scrawny magazines. I don't care if it only holds 3 rounds. I don't care if it only holds 2 rounds. I strive to get my game with the first shot. And it's not that big a deal, but I just don't like rattly magazines, noisy magazines. And somebody else wrote in on that one and said, if you have a full magazine, it doesn't rattle. And I'll have to double check that one. I don't remember if I noticed it, but I don't like the magazine sticking out below the belly of the rifle for the balance, for carrying it. I don't know if everybody else hunts with their rifle slung or they carry it like this all the time, but boy, I quite comfortably carry my rifle right at the balance point in my hand. And if you've got a nice smooth fit on the bottom, like traditional rifles do, it's just a lot more comfortable. That's my preference, but thanks for weighing in, Dual Sports. Bird Dog says, oh my gosh, everybody's after me this time. I don't, this is compiled by Betsy. I think she's trying to stick it to me here. That's what's going on. Bird Dog says, watching FUDs have to handle new stuff is funny. Well, I'm glad I could entertain you, Mr. Bird Dog. We FUDs have our ways, don't we? Kirby. Well, I hope you have something good to say, Kirby. Hi, Ron. Kirby here from Canada. Saskatchewan. Great province. I love your videos. I'm liking this Kirby guy. Thanks, Betsy. Threw me a bone here. I love your videos, and I have learned tons from you. I got some hate mail regarding a comment I made about shooting into wood a while back. Not sure if it was a viewer or someone from your team. I hope it wasn't from your team, the latter. I just needed to comment, as I spend a lot of my personal time watching your videos. No, I wrote back to Kirby. I remember seeing this one earlier. I wrote back, said, no, Kirby, we do not write nasty letters back to you guys. So somebody else probably commented nastily about whatever your comment was about shooting into logs. I try to be polite with folks. JMC, none of your shows are boring, Ron. Please keep doing them. I love the content. Bam, 2 in a row. Betsy must have felt bad for sending me all those first ones. Let's see if she can keep it up here when Chris writes in. Safety in bear country could easily be bringing Ron with you to do a podcast. What? Ron could bore a grizzly to sleep. Oh, she's back at it. If I can't sleep, I put on a Ron Spomer video, and instead of sheep, I count 6.5 Creedmoors jumping over a fence. Works every time for a great night's sleep. Well, you're welcome, Chris. I'm glad I could help you out there. You don't have to take pills to go to sleep. You don't need melatonin. You just need to listen to Ron. I should start charging extra for that. Maybe I could sell a DV. Fall asleep naturally with Ron. Hello, Covey. Covey came upstairs for a visit. She's over there talking to Betsy. Covey, come over here and say hi. Come here, Cov. Come here and say hi. A lot of folks like to see you. Stick your head up there. Jump up there and say hi. Come on. Yeah. Pick you up a little bit. There we go. There's our Covey girl. Ooh, she's getting fat again. Summer layoff period. We got to go for a run, don't we, Cov? Yeah, we got to go for a run. Did you get over your little cough? She was hacking a little bit here lately. Something caught in her mouth, maybe some seeds. We're getting into that part of the year around where a running dog can suck some seeds in. Okay, good girl. Now you go back downstairs and we'll go for that run here in a little bit. Just let me finish up this podcast. Okay, let's see. We got Chris put to sleep, so let's wake up Leonard. Leonard says, wow, I'm watching this, reading the mail, and these questions are so basic that I have to wonder about the experience level of your audience. Uh-oh. Now somebody's chewing all of you guys out. To your credit, Ron, you handle these questions with grace, and I respect your good humor while responding to these entry-level questions. I'm sure you know a thing or two because you are a fellow Ackley fan. I have been saying for years that the 22-250 Ackley Improved deserves factory chamberings. I've long thought that too. I own 2 of them, by the way, and it's my opinion that it's a good thing that Ackley users must be hand loaders. I am a firm believer that all centerfire rifle shooters should be hand loaders because they usually know what they're talking about and they seldom ask these entry-level questions. I enjoy your channel and wish you continued success. So my response, of course, Leonard, is I appreciate what you said about me handling folks. And the reason I do this is because I've been around long enough to know that we all start from scratch. Nobody knows any of this stuff until they start looking into it. So it's kind of silly for someone with your and my experience to turn our noses up at a newcomer, even if he's 50, 70, 80 years old. And when he comes in and he wants to know these things, you've got to treat them with respect because I'm sure they know plenty of things about subjects I know nothing about. And if I asked basic questions, they could say, what kind of an idiot doesn't know that? Well, somebody who doesn't know that. So you just be polite with everybody. And I want to encourage folks to ask these questions and feel safe in asking them because they're joining our hunting community and we need more hunters and shooters to save our basic rights. You know, if everybody decides they're going to go off and play golf and not pay any attention to shooting and guns, we're going to lose our Second Amendment rights. We're going to lose our hunting rights. We're not going to have money coming in to pay for conservation anymore, etc. So yeah, just pays to welcome everybody with open arms and educate them as easily and well as we can. So much respect to all of you guys for asking these questions. Don't ever hesitate to ask what some may deem to be a stupid question. Only stupid answers. And I come up with those every once in a while, as John and Dual Sports and Bird Dog have told you. All right. This is someone named Siak. Who? Some of these abbreviations, guys, give me a little bit of trouble. So when I'm stumbling around here, it's because I'm trying to figure out this spelling with the ers for you, a UR for you are, your, and lots of abbreviations and things. So let's see if I can figure this out. Who, and you wear me out with these chronographs, LO. Do yourselves a great deal. Get a Garmin. I am glad you put Get a Garmin down there because prior to that, I don't know what we're talking about. Now, I'm not insulting you, Siak. It's just that I have a little trouble sometimes understanding all these abbreviations. I know you get it, but I guess this is an example of me not knowing and being like, huh? What did you say? But Get a Garmin, I get that. He is talking about me working with some old light trap chronographs that sometimes give me troubles. You know, you get glints and you get shadows and it doesn't always read things. And I guess this new Garmin, gosh, it's just a little tiny thing, does Doppler radar and it catches everything and gives great readings and all the rest of it. If you got $600, you can buy one. And I guess I better come up with $600 and buy one because they supposedly really work great. And I will take your advice and try to do that. Siak. Okay. Now, let's see what else is on here. The team has pulled up some surprises for me. Not that those weren't a surprise there, Betsy. Thanks a lot. Okay. Jack. It looks like this is Jack from Manitoba. Ron, I've been looking at getting a new hunting rifle. I've decided on a 30-06 because Versatility, medium to big game. I'll be hunting deer, elk, moose, bear, and antelope, but I'm a little stuck on which rifle to get. I've checked out the Browning X-Bolt Hunter and the Tikka T3X Hunter. The X-Bolt felt the best, but being a little bit lighter, I'm wondering if it wouldn't be having more recoil. But I've also done some research, and I've seen that the T3X tend to not be as good in handling recoil as some other rifles. If you have some other rifle ideas within the $1,600 Canadian price range, also I would consider the fact that I'm left-handed, so some of these rifles can be harder to find and very costly sometimes because of that lefty business. Any ideas? Thanks. Boy, Jack, I really can't help you out here because I'm not a southpaw and I don't pay attention to who's making left-handed rifles. But when this pops up, I do hear from a lot of folks. They will write in. So if you go to the podcast channel and look at this one, in the comment section, you'll probably see a bunch of guys weighing in and saying, so-and-so makes a great left-handed rifle and so-and-so makes another one, et cetera, et cetera. But you could also just Google left-handed bolt action rifles if you're interested in bolt actions, and it sounds like you are. And as for that recoil, I don't know if there's a huge bunch of difference. Personally, I don't mind 30-06 recoil in just about anything, but if you're really sensitive to it, I would try to get a hold of some friends' rifles and try them. And of course, you can always go with, well, no, you maybe can't up in Canada. Who knows what your regulations are up there? Can you even have muzzle brakes? I would imagine that's legal, but silencers, suppressors, those are great, but you might not be allowed to have those either. And that's really weird too, because I was just in Africa here recently and it's standard stuff over there. You want a suppressor, go to the store and buy it. Box of ammo, please, and a suppressor. Big deal. And it's the same in France and a lot of other European countries, which we would think could probably really be tightening down on that sort of thing, but they don't think anything of it because they know that it is what it is. It's just a muffler. It reduces the sound level. It doesn't wipe it out, and it's not a nefarious killing machine kind of a thing. It's kind of silly what we do in this country and a few others about these so-called silencers. Anyway, good luck picking that one out, Jack. I mean, I think you're going to do well with either one. The Tikka T3, I have not worked with it much, but I just got one in. It's still in the box, but I'm going to be thrashing that one out and discovering what all the excitement is about. So stay tuned for that video coming up. And the X-Bolts, those are great. It's one of my favorite trim lightweight rifles. I just think they've designed that for the hunter. For field use, it's just beautifully designed. And I've always found them to be quite accurate, quite smooth shooters. So I don't think you can go wrong with either one. If you like the feel and the look and function of that X-Bolt and not so much the Tikka, roll with the X-Bolt. All right. This is John from Oregon. Ron, thanks for answering my question. Oh, hang on. I haven't answered it yet. You might not like my answer here. I just bought a 6.5 Creedmoor. Oh, no. Everybody thinks I'm this Creedmoor fan, and now they're going to say, there goes Ron with the Creedmoor again. Guys, I am not that big a fan of the Creedmoor. I address it a lot because it is such a popular cartridge, and it's just become, it's become a touch point. It's a standard. People like to joke about it. People like to love it. People like to hate it. You can't ignore it. At any rate, John just bought one in a Bergara rifle, and a lot of folks are loving those Bergaras. They've got a lot of fans. So he's got this rifle in Bergara. Just a little background. I'm a bow hunter. I've harvested 27 bull elk and 250 deer with my bow. Holy mackerel, dude. What do you need a rifle for? I'm 67. I'll be 68 this October, and I'm slowing down a bit. Oh, that might be why he wants a rifle. But not much. Okay, good for you, buddy. Hang in there. So I'm preparing now for when I can no longer hunt elk with my bow. Yeah. I've looked for Nosler partition factory loads, and I even looked in my local gun stores here in La Grande, Oregon, and they tell me they can't get them. I've been told that the partition is the best bullet ever developed. I even went to Nosler's website. No luck. All these gun stores still sell reloading ammo, and they can't get it. Where can I get 6.5 factory load in partition bullets? And what would you recommend for my Bergara rifle? The rifle was $850 with the synthetic stock. Please email me my response. Oh, sorry, I'm talking on the air here and you wanted an email. You can also answer it on your podcast. Oh, clarifications here. But I might not see that. Oh, shoot. Well, you've got to listen, dude. I'm subscribed though. Okay. You're going to hear it. Yeah, you're driving me nuts here, John. I was told 140 grain would be my best choice for deer and elk. All right, I'll go along with that one. 140 grain, 142, 143, somewhere in that range. I think that's good. You want a little bit of mass in those bullets for deeper penetration. And the partition is a great bullet. I don't know why you can't find them. If you ever want to kill an elk here in Eastern Oregon, I have a great spot. Oh, now we're getting to the good part. Now we're getting to the good part, John. I have a great spot. You might not shoot a giant, but the meat is excellent. That's good enough for me, man. I'm also inventing a shooting sling for old people like me. Oh, and he dresses it to moi. It's okay, man. I know. We're right there with you. If you'd be interested in hearing about it, just ask. Okay, John, I'm going to have to get back to you on that email like you suggested earlier. This is starting to sound interesting. Whew, man, we can maybe help each other up the mountain to these easy elk. All right. So what are we going to do about this 6.5 factory load? All right. A good substitute for a partition bullet, similar sort of performance, is really the AccuBond. It's a bonded bullet that, in my experience, expands and penetrates about the same as the partition. In my experience, the partition bullets are going to lose about 50 to as much as 60% of their mass while they're penetrating, because the nose lead is the biggest part of the bullet. It's the most weight. The shank lead locked in with that partition wall isn't as heavy, but it does continue driving forward. But you lose so much of the lead in the nose to the usual cup and core style, breaking up and expanding a lot and all the rest of it. It's a good combination. It's been proven again and again and again. But it does lose quite a bit more than some of the bonded bullets like the Swift A-frame. That is sort of a partition on steroids. With that one, though, you might get too much penetration on the smaller animals. Should be fine on elk. But I've used some in 30-06 on some pretty good-sized African animals and punched through with about 1.5 to 2x expansion. I thought I could have used maybe a little bit more expansion. But if you really need to penetrate deep, that's a good option. Just recently started shooting North Fork bullets, and I really like what those were doing. Solid copper shank with some nose lead, and that is bonded too. So I shot 160 grain bullet through an eland. It lodged on the offside hide and weighed 155 grains. So that's great weight retention. And it was more than 2x expansion on that front. So that was a good one you might want to check out. Lots of other good bonded bullets out there that come pretty close to similar partition performance. You might want to look for those. And most brands have something like that. Federal's got a lot of good options in their terminal scent bullets too. So check those things out. Now let's talk with Tyler here in Arizona. I appreciate your videos and podcasts. You're one of my favorites on YouTube. Bingo! Making up for those earlier ones. Good job, Tyler. My question regards copper bullets, of which I know you're a big fan. I understand that you should clean your bore thoroughly before switching to copper bullets, especially after shooting conventional lead bullets. Yes, that's true. Not always, but seems like it's a lot of time like that. And I just had an incident recently in Africa. I'll be doing another podcast covering that one. That was a big eye-opener. My question is this: have you found this to be true when you're shooting different brands of copper bullets? That's a good question, and I'm just beginning to investigate that. That seems to be what happened in Africa, shooting 2 copper bullets, and boy, it caused me some accuracy problems, and we're going to cover that later, but I would pay attention to that. Now, the best way to do this, guys, is when you start shooting some all copper bullets, if you're shooting them through a barrel that's been fouled by gilding metal jacketed bullets, standard stuff, and it shoots poorly, clean the darn thing. Don't judge that bullet's performance before you clean your barrel down to bare steel. You've got to get rid of the previous fouling. I don't know why, but these copper bullets sometimes, often, don't like to be shot atop gilding metal fouling. But once you've cleaned down to bare metal, then start shooting copper and copper only. Bingo, your accuracy can be outstanding. And I found a few cases in which it wasn't an issue, but most of the time it seems to be. So do that. And then if you switch brands from one kind of copper to another, because they use alloys in these coppers, like Hammer Hunter, for instance, have a certain alloy of copper, whereas other bullets might be pure copper or have a different mix of whatever they're putting into that alloy. they might also demand to be cleaned and shot only in that particular rifle. Good question, Tyler. Doug, yeah, back to Saskatchewan again. I like that. I plan to go retire my 30-06 BLR and get a new rifle. Browning lever rifle and 30-06. The local gun shop is suggesting a 6.5 PRC. Gosh, I'm glad you didn't say Creedmoor. I'd catch some more flack for that one. I thought I was more interested in the 6.8 Western, but they think it's not going to last long because only Browning and Winchester are building ammo and rifles. What's your opinion? I should say I normally hunt black bear and whitetail. Moose, maybe, but it's hard to get a tag. Looking forward to hearing from you. Boy, Doug, this is a good one because a lot of people now are starting to get interested in that 6.8 Western. What has happened is, on paper, well, in real life too, the 6-point Western is running neck and neck with this new 7 PRC. And a lot of people are thinking, oh, that 7 PRC is the ultimate 7mm. Shoots as fast as the 7 mag, but you can shoot those high BC bullets and find it already chambered in rifles that are super accurate, and the ammo is made to tighter tolerances, and it should be more accurate right out of the box. Whereas with the 7 mag, you've got to hand load and tweak things to get the same kind of performance. Suit yourself. I love the 7 mag, and I'm not going to switch at my age, but the 7 PRC was sort of like, it's going to bury the 6.8 Western, even though the ballistics are pretty similar. Well, then it turned out people were not getting the velocity as advertised on the 7 PRC. According to Hornady, it's because they can't get the original powders, and they're not willing to reduce the accuracy of their loads by using different powders. So while they're sort of struggling to find the right mix of powder and bullet and accuracy and performance and velocity and all the rest of it, they're suffering at about 100 to 200 feet per second slower performance, which means the 6.8 Western is shooting more efficiently, faster, better, harder, and all the rest of it. It wins the ballistic game. So a lot of people now are saying, I'm getting a 6.8 Western, and sales are cranking up. So it may be, you never know how these things play out, but it may be that the 6.8 Western now starts to climb up and the 7 PRC starts to slow down. I don't know. Remains to be seen. Maybe both of them disappear. Maybe both of them became incredibly popular. Anytime you're looking at these potentials, I think you need to consider how much you love that cartridge and really how long does it have to live before it's no longer effective for you. In other words, if I were thinking I loved that 6.8 Western and that was going to be my deer and elk and moose cartridge, did what I wanted it to do, and it probably does. I have used it, was more than happy with it. I would say I'm buying that 6.8 Western because it's what I want. It does what I want it to do. And I'm going to hand load, and I don't care if it goes obsolete. Or I don't hand load, so I'll just buy a case of ammo. I mean, you might not be able to afford dozens of boxes of ammo right away, but gosh, if you can afford a $1,600 rifle, you ought to be able to add a few rounds of ammo there that would keep you going. So I would find the factory load that works for me with the bullet I like, shoot it a bunch to find out that it's really doing its job, and then buy 10 boxes or 20 boxes or whatever I think, a lifetime supply. Just the way you can handle it, but suit yourself. If you're worried about it, I don't know. I can't really predict it. No crystal ball here. You're going to have to figure that one out for yourself. All right. Good questions, guys. That was Doug from Saskatchewan. Now we're going to go way down to Florida and warm up a whole bunch with Richard. Ron, I've seen you display many cartridges while discussing them on your show. My comment is that the viewer can't see them well enough to distinguish their details because you often don't zoom in enough. Close-up views of what is being discussed and shown are very helpful, especially for older eyes. Boy, I should know that, Richard. Yeah, good advice. We are going to do that. From now on, we're going to try to remember to get a second camera running and zoom in really tight on those cartridges. So thanks for that suggestion, Richard. And that looks like the end of it. Whew. Well, we had some good complaints, some good questions, and some really nice guys thanking me and some guys chewing me out, but that's to be expected. I appreciate all of it, guys. I hope all of these comments and answers help all of you better understand guns and ammo and ballistics and all the things we talk about here, because that's the whole idea of this show. And I can put you to sleep. That's always a benefit. You know, I don't charge for that. And I do appreciate Alaska Knives because they sponsor these podcasts. And I love the quality of the knives as well. And I don't know if I can go on and on about this every time, but I just like to show different knives that they offer. And here's one that I think will appeal to anyone who likes a one-piece sheath type knife, not a folding hunter, fixed blade with the obligatory full-length tang. You've got your chunk of steel. Part of it is the knife blade and part of it is the handle, and then they put scales around that handle to give you a nice hand feel, and they put some stippling on it so you got a good grip. This is their synthetic material, and it's stainless steel. I think, boy, I better double check that one, guys. But it's got a big blade on it. Now, that's about as big a blade as I like to work with on large animals, but they've called this one the Magnum Alaska for, I think, a darn good reason. It's big country with big animals, including grizzly bears. So if you're working on moose or caribou, or even bison up in Alaska, they hunt those too. Something like this might be the size you need. And it's always great to have that handy on your hip in case you need for something other than skinning and cutting up your game, like defending yourself from a charging grizzly. I'd like a good sized blade for that. But yeah, it's kind of a traditional style. You've got this little finger bolster here to keep you from sliding up. Good grip on that. I just think it's going to be a good woods knife for anybody who likes a sheath knife. So check out Knives of Alaska. They've been around for a long time now, and they've got a great reputation. I think they make a good high quality product, and they've got a lot more blade styles and handles than this. Check them out. I think they've got a good lifetime guarantee. It says right here, warranty. Our knives are guaranteed for life against defects and breakage under normal use. Pretty nice stuff. Knives of Alaska. Check them out. All right, this is Ron Spomer. I want to thank our patrons for not only asking us some pretty cool questions, for supporting us. If you would like to support Ron Spomer Outdoors and all that we do here, you can become a patron by going to patreon.com, Ron Spomer Outdoors, and all the instructions will be there for you to sign up and join us. A monthly donation, anywhere from $5 on up. We really appreciate it. There's a few extra benefits for you, like you get to see RSO TV for free, and there are some bennies for the higher donations. I don't remember all of them, but some of them include some gifts like Hunt on a Shoot Straight. Start off right in the morning with your Hunt on a Shoot Straight coffee mug. And if you don't want to join Patreon to get one, just go to ronspomeroutdoors.com, our website, go to the store. Not only can you get Hunt on a Shoot Straight cups, you can get caps and sweatshirts and t-shirts, and for all I know, we might even have some underwear in there. Thanks, guys. We'll see you next time. Hunt honest and shoot straight.